companion too, right?
Right. Yep.
So it's that. It's Born Again. I mean, not Born. Yeah, Born Again. Man Without Fear. The What Ifs. All of it.
All right. Let's bring on the next guest because Jay already looks confused. Hold on. What's up, Isaac? How you doing?
Why you gotta throw Jay under the bus like that?
Thank you,
That's
Isaac.
not
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you.
Isaac,
Appreciate that. Somebody's got my back tonight.
There's just some people that they cannot get thrown underneath the bus enough because
What do
they
you mean
got
by
they
Jenny,
got
what do you mean
so
by
much
some people? What do you
they
mean by
got
that?
so much
Want to elaborate?
padding.
That's my question for tonight. What do you want to elaborate on the some people comment? What do you say?
Yeah, there's some people that put trust me, some people, because they got so much padding that no matter how many times the bus rolls over them, it can just keep going.
Listen, I'm Puerto Rican. I got a nice ass. You know what I'm saying, bro? It's like that shit is built in, baby. Don't be upset with that. Don't be upset with that, kid.
All right.
Fucking jealousy.
Now you can have it. That's good. That's good. You can keep that. What's up, DM? How you
Hi
doing,
there.
bro?
Ray
Please.
Jameson, writer of the Madcaps, and just happy to. It's been a while since I've been on, JD. So it's
Yeah,
just good to be back and good to see Jay Rosario again and Fawn. I don't believe Marcus and Isaac I have met yet, but it's nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you guys too.
Mhm. Isaac, did you introduce yourself? I didn't. We're going back about Jay.
You just came in swinging.
Yeah, I
Nah,
know.
man.
Right?
You already know who I am. Don't matter.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
good. It's all right. Don't worry about it. We already know.
All right.
I mean, the name is there. Isaac Fox. I'm the president of Astral Ticket Comics. We have been on Kickstarter for over 10 years. This is my full-time job. I don't do anything else. Literally, ask my partner. He will tell you I don't do anything but this. So that's what we're here to do. My job.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. So before I even ask my question, which is a show question, which is kind of like, kind of hidden thing, I asked you guys to come up with a question for us because we're always asking questions. I figured I would flip the script tonight and ask you guys to ask us a question. So, and it's for the whole panel, obviously, but the three hosts are gonna answer first, and then we'll just work our way around. Let's start with Vaughn. Vaughn, what's your question, man?
See, when you guys said that, you said you should ask a question. I thought that was a courtesy thing. So I will think of a question.
I'm ready. I'm ready. If
I thought you were like, hey, if you have any questions for us, I thought it was an assignment.
So
give me a second.
Well, you think, Isaac, do you got anything?
Oh, you asked me to do it. You asked Brooke relayed to me that you want me to have questions. So yeah, I got questions all day.
All right.
That's
So
not hard
actually,
to do.
DM looks ready. So why don't we let DM because he looks excited.
How do you guys write yourself out of a corner? Have you ever been able to sleep on something and figure out how do I justify moving forward, or have you had to rewrite a significant amount of pages? How would you write yourself out of a corner?
That's a good question. Marcus, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
This is a tough one. I'm trying to think of any times that I've written myself into a corner. Which hasn't been very often, but I'm also a person who I don't script until I script. And when I script, I bang the whole thing out. So what I do is I develop super hyper detailed outlines that are typically, I start with a skeleton and just expand from there. And they get so in depth that eventually when I get ready to lay down a script, I'll bang it out in a night. I'll write the whole thing. But it usually takes me a year to get to. So it's not like a low effort, thing. It's just making sure that I am measuring twice and cutting once when it comes to the story. And then sometimes it's I think more or less when things come up, for me, it's more on the editorial side where I see the potential for something that a writer may or may not be doing, and then trying to sort of lead them into the right direction for where the story has potential for. I think in one instance we had a character that was a one-off, and I really saw the potential in it, and I had to urge them hey, don't get rid of that character. There's potential for that character to be around more. Let's go ahead and try to make sure that character survives this particular incident, so that you have more opportunity to do more dynamic things later on. So yeah, everything for me is kind of attention to detail has effect.
All right, cool. I like your cat.
Thank you. He heard voices, so he came screaming. I'm trying to make him be
Yeah.
quiet.
Oh,
I'm
that's fine.
sorry.
That's all right. It's not the most
Interfere-
easy thing we've ever had on. So,
Interference on a play. Knock it off.
mhm. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I like what Marcus said. It takes him about a year, because you got to give yourself lead time, right? It's we're not professional writers putting it in 12 hours a day, so the gears aren't always spinning as fast. One of the things I do to help myself out though is I always have 4 or 5 scripts that I'm working on. The tabs are always open, right? So if an idea for one pops up in another, I'll drop it in there. But also, before I go to bed at night, I don't complete the scene that I'm writing. So that way, the next day when I get into it, I've got the momentum of building up or finishing off that scene.
You slept
Right.
on it.
I've slept on it,
Yeah, that's good.
But it also keeps me from sitting down at the laptop and what do I do next? Oh, I know what I do next, right? I got to finish, whether it's this conversation between these 2 characters or the transition moment, or whatever, the fight scene. I never finish off that scene in that writing session, so that's it. But I'm always putting myself in corners, and it's going to sound stupid and cliche and not thought through, but you got to figure it out, right? Whether it's in that time that you're waiting, you see something that triggers you and you try to work through it, you try to workshop it, or you put on that white noise, right? That thing that distracts you, but you're used to doing something else. So that way your mind is just able to process whatever scene you're working on. That's where I'm at with that.
Cool. All right, I got 2 or 3 situations I've had in the past. When I was working professionally, right now, when you're working professionally, you don't have the time to do, like Jay says, which is something I always suggest to people: take your time. But when you're working professionally, you don't have time. You got 30 days, and you better have that script in hand, or it's your ass, or at least your paycheck, right? And you don't want somebody stepping in to fill your shoes, right? So you're there, you're working hard, you're doing what you got to do. So obviously, the first thing I always try to do when I get a pro job, when I was back then, is get it done as quickly as I can, right? So I would try to bang out a script in 2 or 3 days, but then I would take another 2 weeks to really edit, but I mean edit hard, right? So I would try to finish in 2 or 3 days, sleep on it, a day or 2, then come back to it, rework it until I have to hand it in. And then through that process, you can usually figure something out, whatever it is. I had another situation where I had a short story that I was writing that eventually became a comic book. It was When Tender Souls Mourn for the Oswald Chronicles. It took me 6 years to write that story. And it's only like, as far as a short story, I think it's like 8,000 or 9,000 words. It's not that long, right? But it took me that long to figure out the ending, right? And that's just how long it took. It was one of those things. I wrote it. I started writing it when I worked at one company, and it was 6 years later, I was working at another company, and I finished writing it. So it just sometimes takes that long to percolate. Let me see. Was there another situation?
Well, can I add one more thing on? I forgot. Keep your notebook, right? I've got my notes of locations. I got my notes of dialogue, and I got my notes of scenes. And it's like, again, if I get stuck on one of those things, I go into that, right? That's your bag of tricks. Okay. It may not work for the situation, but if you put it in like a placeholder, right? And then you complete the story, you go back to it and see if it fits into that puzzle. If not, then you pull it out and you work on something else.
All right, fair enough. That's cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think those, but I mean, the one general advice I would always give. Oh yeah, the other thing you can do is, if you do work with a writers group, or if you have a couple of friends who are writers who are strong, you can discuss it with them.
Mm-hmm.
As long you have to be able to trust them to give you to be tough enough on you, right? That they're not gonna bullshit you
Yeah.
with what they tell you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, you know, when you have family members, they'll be like, "Oh, it's okay, honey," blah blah blah. You don't want to hear that shit. You literally want
I need this torn up.
right. Sometimes you need somebody to rip you up.
Yeah.
But for it to be genuine, they're not just doing it for the sake of like, I don't really like this dude, so I'm gonna like stick my foot in his ass today. You have to. It has to come from a genuine place where it's like, look, it's just a story to me, and I'm just letting you know what I think is wrong with it. It has nothing to do with the way I feel about you or anything else. It's just, I'm reading this, and these are the things that I see wrong. These are the things I would correct if it was my story, right? Or these are the ways I would work on it if it was my story, right? Take it or leave it. And that's also the general rule. It's a smorgasbord. Take what you like and leave the rest. You know what I mean?
If you
So-
ask for criticism, you can't take it personally.
Justin, what's up, brother? Introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Justin Koch. I write comics. I had SWAT come out recently. It's on Global Comics. It's on Amazon, stuff like that. It's still I haven't mailed out the physical copies yet or anything, but they're in the mail to me. And I also thought I saw 7:30, and I thought 70:30 Central Time, and then I was like, so here I am.
Gotcha.
Right.
Do me a favor, Justin. Put your links in the show note in the private chat.
Yeah, I'll get that in a second.
All right, Vaughn, what are your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, like, and again, just making sure you're understanding it was about finishing, because there was so much. It was about finishing scripts was the original, right? Or it was about writing when you're in a corner. That was the original.
Writing yourself out.
Man, I that happened to me. I had like an 8-hour writing session yesterday, which is great. And it kind of made me feel better because I'm like, I'm taking so long. And I'm like, no, that's actually good. I was revising issue 4, and it was one of the things where often you have to identify the problem. And sometimes it is okay to take a break. Like I'm writing 2 stories at once. And sometimes depending on your mood, it's okay to switch, right? Like you mentioned that. Like I was writing a horror story, and then I was like, oh man. And then I did a live stream to promote my current campaign. And someone was like, you are good at writing superheroes. I felt inspired to do that. So I flipped from the rut I was stuck in with the horror story to do the superhero stuff. And I think one of the things you want to do is sometimes you want to step away, but there are times you're like, I just got to plow through it. And I think one of the ways is if you put yourself in the perspective of the characters. I've done certain things where I'm like, oh, the hero could beat the villain in this scenario. Okay, give the villain something to do to put them in that corner, or vice versa. If you're like, if you were stuck in that scenario and you had to get out, what would you do? Would you just give up? No. Okay, think about what you could do. That's one way to go about it. I would also generally, what I've gotten better at is have your start and your end point. Like, what is your end goal? Not just story-wise, but thematically. And generally, if you keep that here the whole time, that often will help you get out of whatever ruts. Because sometimes you could even take a step back and say, is the rut I'm in a result of something in the story that shouldn't be there? Or is there something in the story that I have in the past that I can use to get out forward? You want to get creative, like apply the same level of creativity to getting out of the ruts, and also know that because you're writing it currently, the rut doesn't have to exist. The situation that created the rut doesn't have to exist unless you want it to. So if you're like, let's just throw this out, you can, as long as you know where you want to end up. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's part of it for me. Like I was writing a scene and I was like, oh, I need this training montage. And I'm like, do I though? Does it help with the plot? No, it doesn't. It was just an idea I had that I was attached to. Okay, out. Because it came up with something better that fills that void. So that happens sometimes. You come up with something that you think is necessary in the moment, but then when you take a step back, you go, no, in terms of the broader strokes, this is already covered. So there's a number of ways to get at it. You have to just assess the problem and deal with it accordingly.
I love this. Let's film it and then send it to George R.R. Martin because he needs to hear that shit. Serious.
I want to.
How does he not know?
He
Like, as a
knows.
writer.
He knows.
I know. I'm joking.
I think he
He's
likes
going through his image phase.
much. I think that's the problem. Is Honestly, I think he's just a little bit too into it. He's just like, I don't get what the problem is.
Yeah. All right. Isaac, you're up. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's Tekken rules, man. Don't get put in a corner in the first place.
Tekken rules.
You do, like, that's the best way to do it. Like, it's like playing Tekken. Like, you go in a corner, that's your fault. You shouldn't be in a corner. Why'd you let that happen? Part of it, if you do find yourself in a situation, which is always a moment, I think in every script, you're like, all right. For me, it's not like a corner moment. It's more like the in-between moments. It's like, all right, how do I get from point A to point C? So what happens at point B to make it worth enough to turn the page? I think part of that is just to remember that the obvious solution is not the right one to take in a comic book. I mean, if Bane puts Batman in a corner, well, okay, Batman's got a gadget. Yeah, that's the obvious solution. But everybody thought of that, so it's boring. The other one is just remember, not the Deus Ex Machina is cool sometimes, but not every time.
Right.
I will sit here and say I will fight on the hill that I love The Mandalorian, but that show is very guilty of overuse of Deus Ex Machina. Every single time Mando's in a corner, somebody shows up every time. Doesn't matter who. Somebody with the name will show up and save the day to get him out of it. So the corner thing, to me, is just don't let yourself get put in the corner in the first place. Like you guys were saying, though, I do agree that having good editors or people that give you feedback will solve that problem by itself. I know that nobody wants to hear that, oh, this is bad, or this isn't very good, or this sounds like something, this line is stupid, or whatever. You don't want to hear that, but the people who are willing to tell you that are more valuable than the people who smile at you. Like it's a script, like working on your comics, man, it's a lot like working out. Like it sucks, it hurts, you hate it the whole time you're doing it. But the second you walk away and look in the mirror, you go, you know what? Yeah, I'll do this again. And that's how it is with a script. When you see the comic come to life, you're like, you know what? I hated the process of being told it was wrong, but they were right, and that's better for it. And if you can keep yourself humble and just focus like that, try to avoid the corner in the first place, but be humble enough to listen to know that you're not always right. Nobody is. Brian K. Vaughan, Tom King, whatever writer you think is the best ever, they have editors that tell them that when things are wrong or when things aren't good enough. One reason why, JD, I know you and I are huge anime fans. Why does the Android saga last so long? Because Toriyama had to have his editor keep telling him that he needed to change things. Ultimately, we got Perfect Cell, which was a great villain. Better than Giro and a fat robot? Absolutely. So and that franchise clearly has made a lot of money. So if you listen, you'll be better. Just be humble and try to remember that the obvious route isn't the route you should take normally. Especially in comic books, you're supposed to subvert expectations. That's why we're here.
To add to the whole editors thing, I mean, we talk about all these great runs, like here on my wall, like Frank Miller's run. That was because Denny O'Neil was the editor, man. I mean, he was like, because Frank was a nobody, but it was because he had great. I'm not saying that he didn't, do great stuff. Like I've heard behind the scenes that like he really was rare, one of those rare exceptions, great out the gate. But he had a great guiding hand that let him get away with murdering.
And I don't know if it was Danny. I don't know which editor it was, but one of the editors handed Frank, I think it was Mickey Spillane. He handed him some old, spy fiction novels or whatever. Not spy. There was like old noir detective books, and he was like, "This is the feel I want you to go for." And Frank Miller, took that really to heart.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or on a parallel lane. What if George Lucas's first wife worked on Return of the Jedi and the first prequel movies? How much better would those 4 flicks have been?
This is true.
Yeah, I think. I think writing through it though is definitely one of the best. I mean, you have to find a way through or around at some point. But the matter is, like you said, it's part of the process, and there's different reasons for ruts, which means it's different solutions.
If you're kind of looking for a noir thing, I'm sorry I'm taking over for that comment, but the James Ellroy Underworld trilogy, you want a hard-boiled detective fiction, there you go. But anyway, I'm sorry.
I want to write a noir book. One of my artist friends wanted to do it, so this is good for me. I need to. I watched, because we obviously, when you're at film school, that's something you do. Like Double Indemnity, they showed me not once but twice. So I know and then I watched The Third Man. There's some others I watched. No Maltese Falcons, shockingly.
Yeah, that was a good movie though.
I haven't seen it.
It's a good movie. Check it out.
But for those who can, not everyone can. But for those who can, don't be afraid of a little bit of a chemical injection to help you get through those things, right? Stevie, what
Some extracurricular inhalants.
right? What did Stephen King write in one weekend when he was coked out and couldn't remember?
Was it Cujo?
Was it Cujo?
I think it was Cujo.
I think he says he doesn't remember parts of it, but
Yeah.
you can write that over a week.
That's
He wrote something. over the
coffee.
weekend.
See, I'll do
Remember with
coffee.
bloody tissues.
Even Gene Clunes couldn't pound out that much in a weekend.
So we have it on camera now that Jay openly endorses black tar heroin. Thank you, Jay. He has his own.
I
Never mind the fact
look
that he has his own brand
at-
of it, his own
look at the
dealership.
guy at the bottom. Look at the guy at the
didn't-
bottom. I'm just saying, okay, Justin's name, it just triggered some things. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Nothing like little booger sugar to get the creative juices going.
there's
The
so
problem
many-
with
I'm
that
drinking right now,
is-
baby. I got a mudslide with vodka and whiskey. We're having a good fucking time tonight.
The problem with that is there is absolutely a line between sobriety and inebriation, which unlocks massive amounts of creativity. The problem is getting to that line. That line is very thin, and crossing it is very
And
easy.
some
Which is
people
why,
get there.
historically speaking, even today, how many people who are famous writers, creators, content, whatever, have a drug and/or alcohol problem because they're trying to get to that line and just stay on it, and you almost can't. You're going to go over it almost every time, but for at least like 5 minutes, you're in that line.
Travis.
You know, I'm just really happy that somebody notices. Anyway, but
Holding you down, baby.
Ray, do me a favor, DM, ask the question one more time so Justin can answer it. I don't
Okay,
know.
have you ever written yourself in a corner, or has there ever been a way that you found a way to get out of said corner?
I do that almost once a project where, and the giveaway is the characters are shopping because I don't know what the fuck else to do, right? They're going to the project. And that's the point at which I go, all right, I'm going to go back about 5,000 words and figure out what I did wrong. Oh yeah, no, I mean, I don't power through. I sit back and I will figure it out because I do not like throwing things away. Those people that like, I wrote a 100,000 word novel and then I wrote it again and then I wrote it again. Fuck that. I'll do it once. It's gonna be good. I will take 2 years to do it. I mean, I'll take the same amount of time, but I'm not throwing that much shit away. You got to sit back and think about, like, to go to, I brought up George R.R. Martin. I think he needs to hear your quote, Vaughn. I mean, like, he needs to have someone take him aside and just be like, look, this whole Jon Snow is a Targaryen.
Tom
thing.
loves me.
Everything up. Just stop it. And then it would be, but
Oh, man, I haven't seen the show yet. You just spoiled it for me.
Oh,
No, I've
yeah.
seen it. No, I've seen it.
Dude, I had a guy. What was it? Oh my god! It was a Dostoevsky book from 1880, and they're like, spoilers. Fuck off. We gotta have a line, man. Right?
You guys know that
I'll be
Snape guy?
reasonable.
Yeah.
I'll give you 5 years, but if it came out in the 50s, if it can get Social Security, it's unspoilable.
12 months.
Stupid, you wouldn't eat it. It's
12
arrogant.
months. That's
I can
it.
talk about it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Where were we? Yeah, George R.R. Martin. You get stuck on stuff. It happens all the time, and then you won't let it go, and it ruins everything. And you just have to be able to step back and go, I'm going to let that idea that I'm fixated on, cutting that. We're going to go back here, go a different direction, and then it'll usually solve itself. If it's a plot-based problem, that'll usually fix it. Just figure out
I'm
what you
sorry.
did.
You
I'm
can always
listening to Justin, and I want to go back to the George Lucas, right? Trade and economics, right? He just wouldn't get off of that fucking ball in that goddamn prequel.
Here's it all. I mean, you have opened a can of worms here, so that's your fault if I go on to the prequels. The problem with Star Wars is the prequels are George Lucas knew what he was doing and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to make an Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, but it's Luke Skywalker going and doing some Jedi shit and recovering the Jedi skull, right? He wanted to do that, but he was
I didn't know
obligated to this tragedy of about a guy going, you know what? I love evil. I want to force choke people. That's hard to do, right? You can't convey that very easily because most people aren't evil, right? Like Elon Musk, easy sell, right? He gets the prequels. He loves them. Normal human, no, right? And so it's just he's trying to half-ass the story. He hits all the notes. He just doesn't do a very good job of it.
There's
sequel,
also
you don't know what the hell's happening at any point. It's just chaos.
there is the theory about the prequel trilogy that everything shifted in by episode 2. I'm sure you've all heard the really crazy theory that Jar Jar Binks was actually
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
leader of the Sith.
Oh.
I have strong inclinations to believe that. And the reason is if you watch a lot of the imagery, like even at the end of episode 1 when they're burning Qui-Gon's body, and I'll sarcastically say spoiler alert,
Charlie.
but putting that aside, Jar Jar is next to Palpatine only, and he's all in black. He's in the exact same clothes as Palpatine. It's almost like that foreshadowing. And then by episode 2, when they throw in Dooku, who apparently the actor was hired like last minute, more or less, you see where Dooku is revealed to be in charge. He's surrounded by Gungans, and if you put Jar Jar in that spot, it makes a lot of sense. But that's
I
my
don't know, I
tangent.
remember that.
I'll put that aside.
That's interesting. That's like I was looking through. I mean, we talk about those plans. I've talked about this a lot ever since I found out. So I'm almost done with Claremont's X-Men run. Like I just finished All New Mutants. And what I find interesting, do you know what his original plans for Gambit and Mr. Sinister were?
Nope.
They're insane. Like totally not even close to what we got. So they were basically the same person. So it was supposed to be around that time.
Spoilers, Vaughn. Fucking
Spoilers for something that never happened. Right. So it was supposed to be, you know how like Scott had a bully named Nathan, and then it would be revealed in flashbacks around that time. And then there was the whole Mr. Sinister in the orphanage. And then the reveal was going to be that kid basically had some kind of ability where he could create other bodies and personalities. And so because he was stuck in a kid's body, basically he couldn't do his supervillain operations because he was like hundreds of years old or something, but stuck in a kid's body. So he would create other bodies, and he created Mr. Sinister, which is why he looks like a stereotypical over-the-top villain and has an evil throne to do his villain's operations. And then to infiltrate the X-Men, he had his cool guy persona, who was Gambit. That was the plan.
That's interesting.
Which is why Gambit's real name was never revealed. That was why. And why they both have such over-the-top designs is for that reason. And then that never came to fruition. But even when I was reading, like, I think it was 277, they're like, Gambit, for some reason, you're always asking questions, but we don't know anything about you. But I'm sure it's fine. And it's like, that was because he was inquiring because he was infiltrating.
All right. So, Ray, before you answer your own question, I got one last thing. Right? You can always do like Jim Henson with the Muppets. He says whenever they ran into that issue where they didn't know what to do, they blew shit up. You ever see an episode where they blow something up in the Muppet Show? It's because they didn't know how to end it. They didn't know how to end it. So,
I love it.
So what's your
my take? Anytime I've written a story, I'm more of instead of feeling where the story goes, I try to have the beginning, middle, and end, and then start filling in the gaps in between. And there has been times my biggest challenge as far as writing myself into a corner goes. My current run with the Madcaps was supposed to be 2 issues, and I couldn't make it all fit in the right amount of pages with what I wanted to happen. So I had to actually make it a 3-piece miniseries instead of 2 issues. Mm-hmm. And the other, there's times like Vaughn has says, I'll power through and get it done. But there has been some scenarios like Jay has said, I'll sit back and let it marinate, sleep on it. And sometimes that I know I'm really invested at the time if I go to bed thinking about it and I wake up as if it's the next stride of my thought. And that seems to be very helpful. I've heard stories of people that like get really into chess and they'll start dreaming of like checkerboards, or they get really into skiing and all they dream about is going downhill, dodging trees and stuff. And usually if I get into that mindset, I will capitalize and start writing immediately on a Google Drive or something. Whatever is on my mind, I'm waking up to.
All right, cool. Isaac, so you got your question ready, sir?
I got a couple of them. They range from like guaranteed to make everybody mad to maybe just annoy everybody. I mean, which one you want? Like,
let's make everybody mad.
So we all use. I presume everybody who uses Kickstarter. I got a weird one for you because we have my community managers and I spend a lot of time talking to our backers. We have a lot of back and forth with them, asking like what are they in, like what trends they like, what they don't like, things like that. We're getting some interesting results now from people saying that there's too much going on at once to track. The reality of it is, comics are one of the lower earners on Kickstarter, but they have the highest success rate.
Mm.
And as anybody who's worked in entertainment can tell you, what that does is attract people, which I'm not accusing, I'm not accusing anybody of this. It's just a serious question. It attracts suits who don't care about the culture or content of what it is they're doing. They see this, they see they can make some money. The video game industry is an embodiment of this right now, whereas people who don't care about it, they know they can just make cash off a quick cash grab because everybody likes video games. What you're seeing now are people on Kickstarter who make average 70, 80, 100 plus $1,000 when they make a run, which, you know, again, this is not meant to put anybody down. But a lot of these guys, so not a lot of these guys, but there are some individuals now who have like 3 or 4 different accounts and they're running like 5 campaigns at once nonstop throughout the year. Does anybody else feel like that's an oversaturation of the market? Like that's kind of creating that kind of just the field of comics on Kickstarter already is becoming overcrowded due to the fact that they foolishly allow AI to be on there now. We've all seen just AI projects pop up.
Yeah.
If I was a lawyer, I would just go through Kickstarter from now on. I've seen people just do straight up like a League of Legends trading card deck that was just all made with AI.
Oh,
That Riot did not know about. Like if I was a lawyer, I would just sit here and just make phone calls all day and just make bank by suing people for doing this. But we are seeing a lot of that. I think we're seeing some of that oversaturation now. When I've talked to backers, they say the problem they have now is that content quality hasn't gone down on Kickstarter. It's gone up, which is great. But now you have, let's say you like JD's work, which JD work is amazing. Everybody should like JD's work. But let's say JD has JD 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Kickstarter, and they're all running similar works that's, you know, has JD's style to it, and you love JD's works. You want to get all of those. Anybody else feel like that maybe a little oversaturation of the market, like we're kind of bleeding the Kickstarter backers dry too much? Anybody else feel like that?
All right. Well, let's start with Jay. I started
I know a few people I know of a few people who do that, but they don't. Oh, what?
I was using it as a joke, JD. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
I have 2 accounts. I do have 2 accounts.
But you know, somebody like Calderon, he does not overdo it, and it's not like he doesn't have the content ready, right? He's not doing it for a cash grab because he's making the same money not making, you know. So
this is more like the big ultra mega big guys that are always doing 6 figures plus no matter what they do.
There are people that do that, right? But now it's like
Forced to cough out of JD. He was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
what do you do if you have releases in different categories, right? And fulfillment times are varied, right? And so this is something that I am going to be going under if we get toys funded, right? So now I got toys and I got comic books. Toys are going to take over a year, right, for me to fulfill if we get funded, and that's a great scenario, right? 12 months is prime time. Do I have another account so that way I can continue to release projects on the comic book side and fulfill and not have to worry about those who are showing up on the action figure side saying, hey, you keep fulfilling all these projects, where are my toys? No matter how many times you inform people, you update them, those questions are going to pop up regardless. So is that something that you do to, for lack of a better phrase, separate church and state? Right? But as for those that take advantage of that, I don't know. You know, sooner or later, this stuff will catch up to them, right? Kickstarter recently released a bunch of updates. They're going to be tracking a hell of a lot more people who are not fulfilling projects, who are just going into this for the cash grabs, which is something that many of us have been talking about them doing for years, or hopefully, you know, an Angie's List style would come out. But this is okay. So for those that go for it, you know, fuck it. They're making their money. I'm not going to tear them down because I don't want somebody tearing me down.
All right, that's fair. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. Like JD, I'm also a person that has 2 accounts because I'll run, of course, Odyssey Comics, our main one, and then we also have our imprint Paradox. The necessity of those 2 different accounts is because there's effectively 2 different audiences. The people who are picking up the Odyssey stuff, like one particular kind of book, person picking up the Paradox stuff, one particular kind of book. The difference between the 2 is also a little bit separate because Odyssey are a lot of things that I'm more involved with the development of. I'm editor or story editor or sometimes co-creator on a lot of projects. On the Paradox side, it's more or less the creators are owning their projects. I'm there for high-level editor-in-chief duties, things like that. But I'm effectively getting their books out for them and fulfilling and things like that. So the nature of both the business, the audience, and then the collaboration is completely different, like between the 2, even though at the core they're both my companies. So those are necessary when you do that. When we're talking about the bigger accounts, I think a lot of other publishers like move the same way too. So it's starting to become normal for a publisher to have 2 or 3 different accounts. It's where they're at. Some of the other ones are a little bit different because I think creators should be allowed, as long as they're doing quality stuff, they're fulfilling their campaigns. If their backers are happy at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. If the people that their audience is going to keep coming back for it. And I think the thing that we don't realize on Kickstarter a whole lot, because we talk about oversaturation, we talk about whether big publishers are coming in and taking eyes off the smaller guys, things like that, where from every metric I can see, everything that I can see that's going on with Kickstarter is that people are owning their own spheres of backers and customers and everything like that. There's not as much overlap as we all think. We have the super backers, like a lot of the cores and things like that. But by and large, the person who is picking up Odyssey books, they're probably not also picking up JD's books and, Rosario's books and everything like that. We have our own crowds that we tend to be with the big accounts, and, the big publishers, they have just more people than we do, obviously. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to address that because I have this is the 3rd one I launched because I did Fund My Comic, then Indiegogo. I think Indiegogo is like dying, personally. I think so. Joe's just answering that question. I'm funding on there, but let's put it this way. I launched it because I was like, whatever. I thought it would be like, only a $500 goal. Since launching it, I have made 4 or 5 times the Indiegogo goal on the initial platform I have, Fund My Comics. So it's like people see that that's the fresh new one, and they still go to the other one. And Kickstarter in 2 days raised. I've already raised in like a couple days more than my Indiegogo goal, which has been up for like 30. Right. So I think that, I think it's not. I don't hate the platform or anything. I just don't think it's big. I think Kickstarter, there's an algorithm. There's literally, you go open the app, there's a comic section right there, and you can scroll through, and there's tons of books, tons of fresh new books that's constantly being updated. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off from that. I was just responding to Jen.
Yeah, no problem. But I think there's also the difficulty of with the oversaturation in terms of the books and things that are getting put out. Like right now, it's really hard to capture backers with all ages or like YA comics on Kickstarter, because due to the hard bend and the not safe for work stuff, a lot of those people have been driven off the platform. They skew younger, they're Gen Z, things like that, or even younger than that, or people with kids and parents. It's hard to push a book now because you've seen that base that you used to have that will attach on those books erode because they don't like the content that's on Kickstarter anymore.
That's a good point, because I have a book that's all ages, and that's a good point.
And that's the thing too. It's not to say that don't put them up and think we need more. That's why. Somebody's rooster.
Sorry, I got gas.
All right, that was reminding me of something.
Yeah, so I think the quality has to be there. You know, people have to do what they have to do in terms of run the business, but at the same time, you know, I get worried about oversaturation and the thought of changing the platform to where you're just getting a lot of the same sort of projects. And of course, in chasing money and things like that, you know, everybody's a little bit guilty of it. You try to get onto that base, try to pull a little bit of those backers under your umbrella, whatever you can do to stay viable on the platform. That's what we do. But at the same time, it's like, you know, when I come in and I see like the same people have been doing like the same kind of comic, like repeatedly. It's just like, I know other people are different, but to me, I see no like personal value in that. Like, it's not something I would back, and it's not something that, you know, I think a person needs to have 50 different accounts like them out there. But like I said, if their audience like supports that, then it's gonna keep going until it eventually runs its course. And I think that's the tough thing from our side. Is I think all of us here are, of course, a little bit different. We write different stuff. We put out different sorts of books. You know, I think even if the opportunity presented itself, I don't think a lot of us would want to run in that sort of direction. But I think eventually something's going to happen to where, you know, those people can either, like we've seen some people do it, they can support themselves off of Kickstarter. They don't have to be on the platform anymore. They get to keep that, you know, sweet 3 or 4%, 5%, whatever Kickstarter is taking to themselves. We could change a lot. And
it feels like a
think
lot more than 5%.
Yeah,
I think it is more, isn't it?
It's
I believe it's 11.
Stripe will
11%.
take 2 to 5, and then Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's what I was saying
5
about what
plus.
Stripe is
So
taking.
it's
then,
you're paying
Yeah.
you're paying
I
two different
felt
companies at a time.
I mean, again, as someone it's a new platform, which is why it is a smaller audience. But like, Fund My Comic was where I launched. Like, they give me, especially because I'm an ambassador, they upgraded me to ambassador. They take 1%, and then Stripe takes 3%. So I feel that, like, especially when if I'm not making hand over fist, you know what I mean? Like, if I was making 100K on Kickstarter, I'd feel it. Don't get me wrong, but not as much as like, you know, when you make more. So that's definitely a thing, is once people have enough audience. But part of why people back on Kickstarter is because there is a Kickstarter audience. But what people don't realize, and I think the oversaturation is, yeah, there is, but if the audience is spread so thin, that doesn't mean any of it will spill to you. It's the same thing with YouTube. There's a huge YouTube audience. Okay. So just because that doesn't mean that someone's going to watch the video if I upload it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think oversaturation is a thing. I don't know gatekeeping necessarily is the answer. I think generally, but it's like, obviously there needs to be rules. But I think generally, I don't know. I don't use Kickstarter enough, but I think often quality or titty books tends to win out. Generally more the latter, but I think, I don't know.
I've been trying to talk my wife into writing gay porn comics and put them on Kickstarter. It makes so much money.
No, go to where the money is.
That is a genre in Japanese manga, yoi.
Yeah.
Yaoi.
I mean, look, dude. I mean, there are women that are. I mean, like I have her best friend is into Thai. Thai slash dramas. I mean, like there's a whole subgenre of like gay soap opera in Asia, and there are tons in America that are obsessive about it. I don't get it, but it's there. I mean, like if you made a comic of that, like thinly veiled BTSs just banging each other, so much money, so much money.
I guess that's fair.
There's a reason that, like, there's a reason the BL manga section in any bookstore, even Books A Million, is a large section. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. BL. I was going to say Ladyboy, and I'm like, that's not right. That is canceled.
No, that's
BL.
a different category in and of itself.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a huge space for that. I don't know. I'm taking over the conversation. I guess if they're delivering quality and what the audience wants, then what right do you have to complain? But if they're not delivering, that's a whole different package, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. All right. DM, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll give you a really good analogy. Anybody who is consistently at a gym working out, The oversaturation right now is the equivalent to all the New Year's resolutioners flooding the gym, and everybody has to tolerate everybody's speakerphones and all the conflicting music and all the other lovely little details that come along with it. In my opinion, I don't have a solution for that per se, but just like in the gym, if I'm at the gym, I'm not worried about okay, it's January 7th. How long is this going to last? I'm worried about by March 1st, am I going to be able to add 5 pounds to my best bench press? Am I going to be able to do an extra rep in my squat? So for this story, as Vaughn kind of hinted on, quality, I will endure this wave. And when it dies down, I'm still going. People are going to start buying previous issues, if that makes sense. I don't have a solution for the oversaturation, but all I can do is focus on myself when these things come up.
That's fair. All right. For myself, I do have 2 accounts. Now, I have 2 accounts for a reason. I run one account for the Oswald Chronicles. Then I run the other account for Dreamweavers and Magi's Grace, which has these titty covers. But it's like, here's the thing. Prior to Kickstarter ever existing, I wrote adult comics. And I mean, we're talking about adult comics. I'm talking about.
We've had that discussion. I know exactly what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
I've never seen that, of course, but I know what you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about.
of course.
Oh,
Not.
never.
Never.
Not at all.
But yeah, I got some funny stories about that one, man. But the thing is, though, is like, so I don't have any shame when it comes down to that. I have like none. Like I've done it before. It's not that big. It really is not that big a deal, especially if you do it and you're just trying to have fun with it. You understand? Like I wrote about ninjas, having karmic sex. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like ridiculous.
No idea what you're talking about. No.
Right.
Can you explain?
But it was,
Can you elaborate on this?
The only thing I tried to bring to it was, can I weave a story in this? Can I actually make a story of this where I have tons of sex, ninjas, right, having tantric sex, and make a story? And I did it.
Wait, tantric sex like Sting?
Tantric.
Yeah, like Sting.
I guess.
He's
Sure.
probably into that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the explanation is a little too complex, JD. Can you and Jay give us a visual example?
Like this. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
You can like, how's it work? Point at each other kind of thing.
Yeah.
Show us on the doll where the ninja girl needs to be touched.
But the thing is, though, is so I have the 2 accounts to run these very different things. You understand? I have the Oswald Chronicles, which is more YA than anything else, and then I have the other one, which is a little bit more adult. And look, I mean, if somebody else has to do that, that's fine. Now, I do understand the thing about there are a few people where they're running 4 or 5 campaigns at one time. And look, I mean, sometimes you sit there, you go like, but listen, I mean, they're doing it and people are gravitating to it and they're making 20, 30, 40, 50,000. What am I going to say to that? I to be honest with you, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. What I am going to do is try to get into that group, though. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's disgusting. How can I get in?
Like, I'm trying to get into that group, man. It's like, what's the membership club? Like, where do I get my ring?
That doesn't bother me as much. That the multiple accounts doesn't bother me as much as the guy who writes the book about Minnie dressed as Princess Leia having a affair with a female Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, you've seen that too, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes up.
I haven't seen that one.
The one that truly like I get multiple accounts thing. I do. The one that cheeses me the most is when it's like somebody has 5 different accounts and they're all AI made comic books. Just straight up Amit. Like that.
Yeah, that's
the one.
That's
So let me ask you a question, because I was gonna do a short story collection after this. Should I make a separate account for that?
Is it pros?
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, but you got to remember though, when you start a new account, you're starting from zero.
Yep,
So-
starting a whole new audience all over again. Yep.
Right, you're starting a whole new audience all over again. But
Unless you've got like JD, we talked about before how Polito was leaving Kickstarter, but I know his company had different multiple accounts, which I'm not accusing him of anything. I happen to have a lot of respect for Mr. Polito. But he could make a new account just and give it the name Dong Swaggle Comics, and he would still make six figures because he already has that pre-existing massive, very loyal fan base.
Yeah, that's what it takes, is that communication to your fan base. That's what we did with Paradox. We actually launched our first Paradox project on Odyssey, then told them, hey, from now on, you gotta go to the Paradox account to get the Paradox stuff.
A mistake I think we've all, I know I've made the mistake, and I know a lot of creators who've made the mistake, is we try to look at the super big boys and say, well, they do this, I should try to follow. Don't follow the big boys. Don't do that. You're looking at people who've been around for 10, 20 years that already have this massive following. Half of them already have a DC or Marvel guy's name on top of it, and that's a big sell by itself. So you look at, like, if you're trying to figure out like what works, look at like medium level people. Those are the guys that had to actually figure it out.
That's a good point. Another thing too would be, well, I get, because like for example, I've had YouTube for like however many years, and it's like the reason why I don't think grow is because my content is kind of all over the place, and I'm wondering if that applies to Kickstarter. But the fact of the matter is, there are publishers that have, I guess, put out a number of stuff. Movie studios put out a number of stuff, so I guess that's part of where I wonder. I guess I could. Well, I was hoping to cross that bridge soon, but I guess that depends. But I guess that, that's a bridge to come to later, but it's a good discussion, I guess, to have. Is I almost feel like if you fund a different, and maybe this is was my mentality, if people are like, oh, I only want comic books, I imagine most probably wouldn't unsub if they just saw, they'd just be like, all right, I'll wait 30 days until the next one.
Would these multiple accounts be the same thing as Hollywood starting a new business for every movie that they make?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Right.
Well, I think you might want to think about, like, to allude to that a little bit more, think more about like production houses. Now, if I told you that, oh, I'm going to see the latest MGM movie coming out, got no idea what is that? You don't have a picture in your mind of what that is.
Just a lion roaring at you.
It's just a lion roaring. If I told you, like, oh man, A24 has a movie.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's really about how you are marketing that brand or that thing, even if it's a separate title that you're doing. And that's where I saw the need to make an imprint for myself, because I'm marketing a very different sort of thing.
I get that. But it's like, all right, Captain America, for example, right? The first Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Brave New World are all four separate businesses. Even though it's Disney or Marvel or MCU, right? Each one
for accounting purposes.
Right, for accounting purposes.
Well, that's why you do that, for tax reasons.
Number, right? Its own social security number. So is that
I wonder if that's what the comic guys are doing, for tax reasons. I didn't think about that, but that might be the reason right there. Uncle Sam sure does love to milk you dry.
Yeah, man, he really's got to take down that like 25-year-old who made one comic.
I mean,
those comic creators really are.
That's just shadiness.
All right. Well, hold on, guys, because we got a whole different. We have something. We got a whole nother phenomena or phenomenova to deal with, right?
Oh yeah.
Good segue.
Thank you.
Wow.
So
this guy, it's like he's a professional or something.
Sometimes, not all the time. Trust me. Vaughn, you want me to play this video?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right.
I just want it to be like the Crusader Corps. Like my father. I thought with my new powers I could be. But I failed. I let everyone down. I got people hurt. I just wanted to make the world a better place. And instead I made things worse. But now I have the chance to make things right with the help of one of the Crusaders. The Phoenix section. And I will. I have to. Whatever it takes. I will find that spark again.
Cool.
So February on Kickstarter, but yeah.
That's
So
fine.
That's great.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is the book is fully done. I almost screamed when I saw the printer costs. But otherwise the book is basically done. It's lettered, it's everything. I'm waiting for the issue 3 cover to get colored so we could make the ad page at the back of the book for the next issue. And then we're basically ready to go with the pre-press and all of that. But it's a superhero story set 20 years after World War III and follows the next generation of heroes being trained by the previous generation. So the Phoenix Senshi right there, she was a ninja that fought during World War III. And now she's training this kid who thought in the first issue that he could do it on his own. And now he's learning the world doesn't work like that. And he's being trained to eventually join a team. So
Do the ninjas battle the traditional way or the JD Calderon way?
what's the JD Calderon way? Oh, right. Never mind. Yeah. No, it was.
Are you
traditional-
sure you want to go with that answer? Because
I
that's
was
a
like-
very different audience than you might be reaching. with,
Hashtag
but-
big black weapons.
Yes.
God.
Yeah, no, not that way.
So, what are we as far as is it a limited series, ongoing? What are we looking at?
Ongoing.
Okay.
So that would be ideally I want to write this forever. The first issue was a giant size first issue. This one is 24 pages, but the first one is much bigger, and the first one is 68 pages.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, kind of like how New Mutants started with the graphic novel. I wanted to do that kind of approach, but I figured rather than explaining the graphic novel then issue, it's easier to just 1 then 2. So
Gotcha. Now, how many issues do you expect this arc to last?
8 issues, but the issues will be shorter. Although the next issue is going to be 40 something, and then it'll go back to 24 to 28 per issue.
Gotcha.
So 8 issues. I was just revising 4 the other day. So as long as the money keeps coming in, I'll keep putting them out, man. Everyone gets that trading card. If we scroll down a bit, as soon as it funds, everyone gets that trading card regardless of platform. And then if we hit 10K raised across all platforms, because I want people to back whatever, you will get that trading card right there.
Very nice.
So
Very nice.
Yeah.
we're pretty
Good.
close. We got
So-
digital and physical options.
What are we looking as far as frequency? You look 3 times a year, 4 times a year, 5 times a year. What are you looking at as far as release schedule?
Well, I'd love to go faster and faster and faster, but this year, I am looking at my goal is to have issue 3 done by the end of the year, but that obviously would depend on how well issue 2. If issue 2 does super well, that means I could roll faster in. My artist would start doing pencils and inks in June, but obviously, I have to make sure that I'm ready to pay him. So ideally 2 to 3 a year. I did 1 last year, but it was also my first time I was building an audience from scratch and all of that. But now that I have the momentum going, as long as I could keep it going, I'd love to do 2 to 3 a year.
Okay, cool. Looks
But
good.
I can guarantee at least 1 this year and starting the 3, if not finishing it this year.
Okay.
And then hopefully, ideally, what I do is have 2, then 3, and then 4 launching at the end of the year and just spilling into the next year. That's my ideal plan. But when you make a plan, the man upstairs tends to laugh. So
Right. Well, you know how that goes. Yes.
What is that
Oh, yeah.
old phrase? The men plan, the gods laugh. That whole thing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, promise too much, but that is my ideal plan. If I got all the money I could get, that would be it. I'd get 2, 3, and possibly 4 done this year. But I can guarantee you 2.
Well, there you go. All right. And listen, as long as you fulfill this, that's what matters. This is what
Yeah.
you're going to say. This is what matters. And then
Let's go.
you got to wait a little while. You got to wait a little while. That's all it is. But it's
Hold on. How long is this issue?
24 pages.
Oh, okay. That's still $1,000. That's not anywhere near. You're going out of pocket a lot, aren't you?
Right. I've raised over 6,000 on the last one, and then I saw the printing costs. So more out of pocket than I was hoping if I want to print the amount I want to print, which means I'm either going to have to print less but we'll see. My goal is to raise more, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, I'm out of pocket right now, and I'm hoping to be less out of pocket in the future. Again,
Yeah.
if I don't have to go into pocket, I could start putting stuff out faster. So that's why I say the 20K goal is basically, issue 3 is greenlit. It's the 20K goal, 20K across all the campaigns. So
All right, cool, very nice. You're looking good. You're heading in the right direction. You got 21 days. You're more than halfway there. I think you're not gonna have a problem making that goal.
Oh, making that goal is not a problem. But like Justin said, this is a goal. Like, I have.
Oh yeah. No, I trust.
actual goals.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean that's just the initial goal.
Yeah.
When you talk about your printing, where are you printing? Here in the U.S. or you're printing overseas?
US.
Yeah, you might want to consider printing overseas.
I consider it. I don't know. I almost, because I know it's cheaper, but I do
Well, unless they just slap a 50% tariff on for a week while you
Yeah.
place your orders or whatever.
Listen, I mean that's the sort of thing that you deal with it as it comes, right? You don't you can't worry about that. You'll live your life in fear if that's all you worry about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, because in the end, our intentions have to be pure, right? And that's what we got here. Right? Pure intent.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that
Ah,
was
Segue.
segue. There you go. All right.
once again, his showmanship just comes through, man.
There you go. Isaac, do you want me to play this?
Be my
Video?
guest.
All right.
My video guy would like it.
Teach me, Mistress Izumi.
What you did?
We won't be intimidated by criminal threats.
Show us what you got. I'm gonna knock you all on your asses. Never run from a real fight. If you don't stop, you'll get us sued.
Welcome to the future. Transferring to autopilot mode.
It's confirmed, milady. We're under attack. So it begins.
JD, I'm really hoping you know where that last part comes from.
I barely caught it, but no, where's it from?
It's a Toonami homage.
Oh, okay.
Back
Okay.
when Toonami used to do the really amazing, I guess there were ads, but they were like advice too at the same time.
Mhm.
They were just like clips from different shows. They ran this homage to that. That's what inspired us to do what we do. At least me. Yeah, Pure Intent number 3 is the first series I've ever fully wrapped up, which you'd think I've been here for 10 years. I'd have wrapped one up by now, but no, I have not. This is a prequel to the Kremisi series, not a prerequisite, but it's a prequel. I will point out that book, to go ahead and fight against this 18+ belief, which I think is not true, that book is a 16+ book. It does not have sexuality inside of it whatsoever. There's some implications of some very nefarious things happening, but depending on how sharp of a reader you are, it depends if you notice that or not. You're going to see the same kind of content you would see in Yu Yu Hakusho, which, JD, I know you've seen Yu Yu Hakusho, man. That's a classic. Or Iron Blood Orphans. It's like Naruto, kind of the same vein. A little bit of Demon Slayer, though I think Demon Slayer's fan service is a little too forced, so we don't do that in this book. I'd say 16+. In realness, if your kid's like 13 and used to watching modern anime, it'd probably be fine. But it doesn't have sexuality. It does have violence, a lot of dark themes. It does deal very heavily with things like trauma, PTSD, violence, abuse, things like that, especially towards children, which is what this book's mostly about. Because we beat the kids here. No. Art was done by Neela Fox, no relation to myself. She is a fantastic manga style artist. You guys talked about the boy love stuff earlier. She draws a lot of that kind of stuff, and she's very good at it. We don't make that kind of content ourselves yet, but maybe one day. 32 pages is what Pure Intent is. This one is weird. This campaign's weird for a reason, because it's not for one, it's for 2 books. I wrote Pure Intent, and my editors ripped me up, and we fixed that one to make sure it was nice and good to go. This also has, as the video showed, where it gets really poppy, the Mistress Izumi's Adult Lessons. I'll talk more about that when we get to it. Those are all the variant covers. Those graphics will be swapped out before the end of the campaign. We actually were using a lot bigger sensors for a while, and I had backers come and complain that I was doing that. So they can't see enough of the art. So they want me to shrink the sensors back down the way I used to do it. So I had to come back mid-campaign and redo all the graphics because of that. Well, redo the censorship.
I
work with a-
I would have told him. I would have told him to just buy the books. Buy the damn.
Well-
thing. See it, buy the covers. Damn it.
when they haven't given me money yet, I'm inclined to listen.
Oh, no, I got it.
So I'm like, okay, you guys want me to make some changes? We'll make some changes for you. I have 2 community managers, and we spend a lot of time talking to our backers, asking what they enjoy, what do they want to see, how do they feel about certain things. We make changes based on that feedback. My job is to put a smile on the backer's face. If you don't walk away with a good experience from us, then I have failed my job. So we take that very seriously here. One thing that I point out a lot when we do stuff is technically all of us in this column over here, we are technically competition, but we're also on the same team. We have a responsibility as Kickstarter and comic creators to always put our backers first and make sure that they are happy, not just so they come back for us, so they come back and back each other and other creators. I don't want one person to take all the backers. I don't want to take all the backers. I want people to support everybody on here equally so we can all have a slice of this pie. Speaking of pie, Mr. Suzumi's Adult Lessons. DJ, I can do it too. This is co-written by Azumi. She is the blonde fox girl right there. She co-wrote it. So the technical stuff was me. A lot of the dirty gags are her. What I will point out about this book is we call it Mr. Azumi's Adult Lessons. Almost everybody in the comic industry, myself included, has been a teacher at some point in their career. But what I can tell you is adults don't like learning anymore. Men especially, we're really bad at it when we hit 30. We just stop. We don't want to learn at all. We just quit.
Yeah.
Jay smiled at me. He knows. He knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But we do want to see girls with their clothes off. So what this book is it's designed to use some stimulating imagery to stimulate your mind.
Isaac is so subversive.
Issue number 1 was actually about budgeting. It was verified by a CPA accountant as an actual good lesson in budgeting. Issue 2 is how to change the tire on your car using the kit that comes with your car. That's what the tools, the kit with the car. That book is verified by a mechanic. Issue number 2, my colorist on that book actually was on a road trip with a buddy of his in the UK. The car had a flat halfway through it. He had the book on his tablet, and he walked through the book on his tablet and was able to change the tire. So I can verify from the field that works. Issue number 3 has been verified. I won't say what it's fully about, but it's been verified by an actual plumber as, again, accurate and helpful in how to do this. So the point of the book series was really just to help people do things that adults, like our generation especially, get taught how to do. A lot of my friends, they don't know how to fix a toilet. They don't know how to, do basic things in their car or how credit works. They don't know that stuff. So the idea was to kind of help people understand that and improve their lives, but at the same time, give you something to stimulate you a bit. No AI. We strict by that. I don't use ChatGPT. I do not use any AI. Anything that uses AI is not permitted anywhere near an Ash Ticket production. If you cannot draw and you are here making comics and you're using AI and not paying artists, I want you to get the hell out because you don't belong here. Put food on an artist's table. So I work with a wide team of artists. I can't draw. Trust me, you don't want me doing that. I work with a lot of them. We do some custom covers. When we do the customs, like we have one right now, the majority of that money goes directly to that artist. I'm basically just middlemaning that, trying to help them get them more than what I normally can get them because I very much care about my people. We have a lot of reward tiers, but Jay, I think, JD, you've seen before. We always we run a lot.
Yeah.
It's mostly because we usually do a nice, and we call them Foxy now, nice and Foxy variants. It's all more on brand. Again, if you've seen Naruto, Kill la Kill, Legend of Zelda, you'll recognize some of the cosplays. We aren't doing the cosplay thing anymore. What happened was this was supposed to come out in October, and there are going to be Halloween costumes. But I had some health issues with my heart and stuff, and I wasn't going to be able anymore to physically do it. So I had to push it back. And now it's here, which is why we get some of the lascivious and fun things that we have around this campaign. We have a ton of add-ons. Actually, next campaign, I got to figure out how to cut them down. I saw someone in the comments say that a backlog is a good thing. Thank you for saying that. I feel a lot better because we always list our, not everything we have, but every book we have is a backlog as an add-on. And I always feel like, man, does anybody really want to scroll through all that? But that makes me feel better. So whoever said that, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like I said, I've been doing this 10 years. We are listed as a backer favorite on Kickstarter because we have always kept our promises. If you don't believe me, I always invite people to go through the comments on every campaign that we're done. Go back and read them. Take a look, and you will see nothing but people. If questions get answered, we're nice to everybody. We help them out. We take care of everybody. One reason why we get so many add-ons is because backers will message me during a campaign asking for certain things. Yeah, sure. Whatever you want, we'll make it happen. That's not a problem. I will tell you, this campaign has been weird. This is the weirdest one I've ever done. Because a lot of the big spender backers contacted us off of Kickstarter asking if we could just invoice them directly for things they wanted, not through Kickstarter. Which, you want to drop a couple $100, I'm not going to argue with you. Whatever you want, man, you got it. I was surprised by that. So the number is lower than it really is, just because I've had so many people come up to us saying, "Hey, I want to get this, but I also want to get these things that aren't on your campaign you did previously. Can we all just put it in a PayPal invoice and go from there?" Yeah, we got a website. We'll make that happen. No problem. 5 stretch goals are unlocked. We're encroaching on that 6th, which is, what is that one? That's the cosplay sticker. That one's really cute. We had request temporary tattoos, so I've added that. Those will come back later. The final stretch goal I always do is the series record. So the series record was 30,500. Probably not going to hit that on this one. That's okay. But you never. But sometimes that last minute rush surprises you in ways you would never expect.
True.
We have the graphic right below that. I think we have a preview book. Anybody can go in there and download that if you want to check out what our work is like. Because I've backed projects on Kickstarter before. I'm not going to call anybody out, but the product I got, I felt like was not reflective of what was marketed to me, and I don't want to do that to somebody. We're not a bait and switch group. We're not going to try to do that to you. I don't want you backing this campaign. I want you backing this campaign and my next campaign and my next and my next and my next. And to do that, I want you to be happy and make sure you get the best you possibly can get from me. So we have a free preview book anybody can download. You get a couple pages from every comic we do, a little blurb about what they're about. That way you can see exactly what it is you're going to get. I'm not going to show you this, this crazy, amazing cover, and then you open the book and the art was drawn by a cat. We're not going to do that to you. I've had that happen, and it doesn't feel good. This is coming right off of, we did do a campaign run on BackerKit with a digital only run. Mixed results with that. Since Stripe apparently watches BackerKit very closely and is not very friendly over there.
Oh wow.
They're not very friendly. We've had some issues with them, and I'm hoping they don't do this time, but we'll see what happens. I wish I could do like Mr. Polito did and just do a pre-order only system on my website, but I don't quite have that following as of yet. You guys have seen Kill la Kill. Some of the cosplays are from that. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild.
I just mentioned Kill la Kill on a stream earlier when someone was like guilty pleasure, and I had to dig deep and think of one.
Kill la Kill's good.
I was like, that's one.
It's just straight good. Like it's
actually good.
It has a good. It's one of those that uses a lot of silly fan service to get your attention, but there are things that writers do. And JD, I know you know what I'm talking about because you've done this, and I've read your work. I know you've done it. Where you sometimes a writer reminds you every now and then, hey, I know I'm writing about like naked ninja sex or whatever, but I'm going to remind you real quick that hey, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. And the best to go for like a popular example of that, the first Pokemon movie. You're writing a movie about battle monsters for children, but then Mewtwo drops one of the most real lines of all history. Like, the writer's reminding you, like, yo, he knows what he's doing.
It's like what our circumstances of birth are irrelevant.
Yep.
Oh,
exactly
man.
it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that when it comes to like.
Dude, I haven't rewatched that in years.
I read a lot of ecchi manga, and I love those kind of series. And every now and then, that's the thing where the writer just comes like, "Hey, just so you know, I can make you cry if I want to," and just hit you with something out of left field. Like, wow, I was just here to see a bunch of like monster girls with their tops come off, but damn, now I gotta like think about my life. And I love people who can do that, and I try to do that in some of the work that we do. Pure Intent is a darker story. It's much more serious about a group of kids who have been abused and forced to kill each other for sport. This takes place 12 years after issue 2. Anybody who's ever experienced trauma in your life, you know that trauma does not manifest immediately. It takes years for it to kick in. This is about the time it's starting to kick in. This book is about vengeance. So if you like revenge stories, Pure Intent. If you want to see naked fox girls teaching how to be an adult, go read Mr. Suzumi. And if you don't like that, we got a bunch of other books available as well.
Very nice. That's cool. So this is the complete series. There's all 3 issues.
Well, you can get all 3 issues. We have a digital catch-up pack, which is only $14. We normally charge $5 per digital, so that's $1 off. So you save you a little bit of money. And if you get that, you get all the digital stretch goal items. We really expand our digital market big time. One reason we learned that from the last campaign I did, that the digital market, especially as somebody I saw them in the comments mention that right now, like, economy's uncertain. A lot of my big backers are saying they don't have any cash anymore. Things are getting rough, or they have to save up for something. I don't ever want to make you, when I say you, the generalized you, pick between having a cool thing or a good dinner. I've been in that situation, and it's not fun, and it sucks. So what I try to do is when I do Kickstarter, I come to Kickstarter, I try to bundle things up and discount them. So you can get the cool thing. You can have your cake and eat it too. Now that cake might be a fox girl's butt, or it might be a comic book, whatever you want it to be. We can make that happen. But the point is, we always try to bundle things together. This is just number 3 mostly, but you can get the other issues physically on here as add-ons. You can get the whole thing in digital, whatever you want. And this book does lead. I know, JD, you see my Cremisi series. This leads into the Cremisi series. I can't say how because that's a spoiler. But if you read issues 1 through 3, you're gonna know. Oh, actually, I wonder if somebody can figure it out. It's interesting how readers can view things. They pick up on stuff sometimes that wasn't there. Sometimes things you wanted to get picked up don't. You never really know.
All right, cool. Well, you're well above your goal, and you got 3 days. You're 251 backers. You're good. And I mean, I think you're gonna just, who knows? You'll probably pile another 3 or 4 grand on there.
He was gonna say kill it, but he's already killing it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're killing it. Yes.
To be honest with you
Already
guys,
dead.
like, actually, we're like at half of where we were like the last time this series came out. And we've talked to backers, and a lot of them have said that's the reason. Is like right now, just too much uncertainty. And on top of that, the big spenders that I have, they didn't back this. They came to us directly via our Discord and said, "Hey, we want to get it this way instead." I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I mean, that means that Kickstarter and Stripe ain't taking 10% out of profit, so I got no complaint.
No, this is true. But you're doing well.
The better our books do, the bigger the bonuses that go out to the entire team. I'm the only person on this team that doesn't get a bonus. Everybody else does.
Well, yeah.
Even he gets a bonus. And he does nothing.
All right, cool. I can't even say this one's a much tougher one to segue into, but it's a very cool title. It's Madcaps. Here we go.
My hat looks insane. It's like a madcap, if you will. Speaking of madcaps,
Oh my!
we have Madcaps issue number 2. This is in pre-launch. We're launching in April 1st. Are you okay if I share some cover art?
Good.
Let's do it.
right,
JD, I'm going to point out you had a segue, man. You didn't take it. You could have been like, "Yo, this is making mad caps." Speaking of mad caps, you could have done it, man.
That's a good one too. That's a good one.
All right, so I'm gonna get off of this one and share that screen so I can pull it up.
Okay, sharing. So this is art from issue number 1. It's going to be pinup art again for the Kickstarter. That's Sean Langley line work and Dan Kemp on the colors. The whole theme is these guys running into, they're meeting up at their hometown, their childhood friends, and there's an outbreak. They're able to help the guards stave off the outbreak, but these 4 are led to believe that this outbreak has something to do with a local drug problem. So issue 1 was real crazy. Issue number 2, here's the main cover to issue number 2, and it shows the 4 of them walking into path with a lot of overgrowth. This is drawn by Kenny Calderon and also colored by Dan Kemp. And every cover I have, I want it to reflect something in the story. I'm a big fan of that. I really like seeing covers where read to see why this is happening. Why is Spider-Man helping Doc Ock rob a bank? Open the book and find out kind of thing. So I don't have the titles up for any of the art you're about to see yet, but as you can see, they're walking into something. Basically, they found a lead in the first issue, and it's being revealed. They found kind of like the location of the distributor. And if you're going to be an individual or group that is doing some shady stuff and you have some shady product, you're most likely going to have some hired muscle. So the setup is big. It's got some really cool payoffs in it. This is going to be a metal foil cover. This was drawn by Jenna Stark and colored by Dave Kemp. And I think the metal foil will really add to the stained glass.
Yeah.
That'll look really good like that, man. Like, for real.
It's great.
You all have been through this. It's torture not talking about stories that haven't been revealed yet. But this image here of this is a dwarf, his name's Sarlacc. He finds a book in the middle of the story, and this is just a depiction of that. Sarlacc is very devout to something he refers to as the divine, hence the stained glass representation, just to kind of reflect that. 3 more images. So here we have line work by Rod Ramos Rodolfo, colored by Dan Kemp as well. This is Madrakis. Madrakis, you could see here he's tapping into his arcane abilities and pulling some earth in front of him upward. I took a little piece of the script and sent it to Rod, and this is what he sent back to me, and I said, "Shut up and take my money." I'm really happy with how this turned out. And again, this is something that happens in the book. I can't say any more about that scene, but it's really, really awesome. Here we have Jay Sloan's line work with Dave Kemp's colors. This is Chazgo, a blue-skinned elf, and he's being accompanied by, you can't see it too well, I'll zoom in. Pardon the pixelation of this screenshot here, but we have a three-eyed albino crow. It's a pet of his named MX. It's the first time this bird's been introduced into this story, so again, I wanted the cover to show something with the bird in it, hence the imagery. Very happy with how this turned out. Dave told me he found it challenging because there's a lot of blue, and I wanted it at nighttime, so it turned out pretty good with all things considered. I'm very happy. I really like how Jay drew the emotion of the body position. You don't know if he's sad or just milling around in his thoughts. It almost looks like somebody in the middle of day shift on break, sitting on a milk carton outside having a smoke or something like that. And then lastly, this is an exclusive, JD. This is done by Russ Leach out in the UK.
Yeah, Russ.
It's being colored as we speak. Here we have Dunnan in the middle of an undead horde closing in on him. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Dan Kemp puts his colors on this. It'll be at about a week or so until he can get his hands on it and get it finished. But every little detail I look at, it just looks better and better to me. I could get lost in this for a long time just looking at the imagery. But I've done a lot of talking here. I'll stop sharing for a second. There we go. I'm just in pre-launch, so anybody watching, even if you're not interested in the book, I'm telling you right now, just like everybody else has said, we all support each other. If you can even just follow that pre-launch, you will be helping sway the algorithm in my favor. And I'm just really looking forward to finally getting this product out. I'm an artist at heart. When I was a kid, I did a lot of drawing. I couldn't do that as a profession, but I do like expressing things. I loved writing this story. I just needed to get it out of my system. So this is issue 2 of 3. I'm just head over heels that I've had all this talent, been able to join in on the team, and this product's going to be really, really cool.
No, I really enjoyed the first issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for sending me that.
Do you have a favorite character?
No, I can't say I do. I probably have to. I'll reread it.
That's okay.
But I mean, I can't. I think it was pretty much even throughout the whole thing.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because anybody that's asked me if I've had a favorite character, I like the group more than any of the individuals. In real life, I always focus on a person as the individual, but for them, I like them as the group. I wrote them as a group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was the thing that I focused on. All right, we got. Okay, there's another one. Justin, do you want me to? You send me this. I'm gonna play this video.
Oh yeah, that's DM's review of SWAT.
Oh, there's a review.
That's a review.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit, but
well, it's a minute 31 seconds, so I can play it.
Review. Remember to support indie comics. In this episode, we will be diving into issues 1 to 4 of the Secret Wizard Assault Team, better known as SWAT. I am very lucky to get my hands on the script to this story. Let's get right into it. Imagine, if you will, the combination of the X-Files, Law & Order, Pulp Fiction, and Harry Potter. This is the easiest way for me to summarize what I'm reading. The core of this story is about how this group of wizard cops are going to retain their jobs with upcoming budget cuts. Each issue tracks this group with a day-in-the-life style setting, while at the same time following the common thread of tracking down and pacifying a specific vampire. This mystery has our team visiting many places, from basements to trailer parks to mega churches. When the action picks up, this team grabs their guns, wands, and melee weapons, showing just how ragtag they truly are. There is a good balance of humor, detective work, and carefully adding elements from previous issues to make sure you are paying attention to the finer details as the story progresses. Issue number 1 is currently on Zoop, and creator Justin Cook is excited to reach funding. Look them up now and join in on the action before it's too late. Cheers.
That's it's done now. That's from 6 or 7 months ago. So issue 1 is actually at that Global Comics link. It's free to view because screw it, I'm not making any money anyway. But it's there. I'm really happy with it. Rachel did an amazing job. DC Hopkins did the lettering. He is awesome. So it's just kind of sitting there, ready to rock if you want to check it out. I'm really happy with how it came out. This is sort of a dedication to a friend of mine who helped me back in the day. We've already moved past it. But there's a million different ways to say it, but it's kind of like what if Harry Potter wasn't the chosen one and he was just a kid who survived a school shooting, and now he's a screwed up, a cop that's trying to deal with a lot of childhood trauma and a really shitty job. So it's basically a metaphor for the millennial experience, pretty much. So.
Oh, so
it starts out
even the nightmare that is.
Yeah,
the absolute suck fest it is to be a millennial. Yeah,
it definitely has a lot of that to it. Actually, I didn't realize it when I was doing it, but they well, that's a spoiler. Whatever. They kill a vampire, then they steal his house, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a metaphor for millennial homeownership. We just gotta kill the boomer.
We have to wait for our parents to die for us to have a house. Yes, thank you.
But, I mean, it's grim, but yeah, I mean, it focuses, I feel like a lot of the frustration that I feel just not just millennials, but pretty much everybody in America is experiencing right now, where everything's just sort of frustrating. So anyway, the first issue's there. I think I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's a great start to the series. So. It's one of those where it's really intricate, and I may have overdone the plot, but I hate talking about specifics because everything's a spoiler, because everything matters in the end. But anyway, it's there. Check it out and see what you think.
All right,
I think
cool. It looks good. But listen, I was just gonna say, man, Justin, extremely unfair. You had DM do all your work for you. Like he did all your
posted it, man. I didn't even know he was going to be here. I was like, oh, hey.
That was me sharing it in the private chat because I saw Justin, I saw SWAT. Hey, I reviewed that. So I just threw it in the private chat. So.
Oh, okay. I thought Justin sent that over. That's why I was like, oh, okay. Well, here's another one for it. So I was like, I popped it on there.
You had to listen to me talk twice. That wacky knucklehead accent of mine.
Okay. All right, now let's return to this. Here we go. All right.
Oh,
there we go.
Nice.
All right. So Marcus, what do we got?
All right, guys. What you have here is Slight Return. This is the latest graphic novel from Odyssey Comics by Rob Pilkington and artist Heather Vaughn. I'm just going to read the synopsis because it's the easiest thing to do. Slight Return follows a newly canceled Nepo baby, Theo Van Every, as she inherits her rock star grandfather's condemned Bayou mansion. But as she sets up shop to record a comeback record, she's confronted by an eerie stranger hell-bent on repossessing a missing family heirloom, an iconic guitar rumored to have been bargained away by the devil himself. Part macabre chamber piece and part rock and roll swan song, Slight Return brings a classic American crossroad mythology to the modern day and cranks it up to 11.
Very nice.
So we're getting down to the wire on this one. Last 3 days to go. So we're just about to approach that end of campaign bump to hopefully get us over the hump here and get us funded. We're about 75% right now, so we're on track to fund once that last bit of support starts rolling through. We also opened up some new rewards on this one, so you scroll past it already, but we have Flops go ahead, and since some people really like this print work, they were reaching out to me and saying, hey, like Flops those covers, can you guys get a cover for Flops' artwork too? And then I reached out to him, he went ahead and knocked it out, did an awesome retro job on it. We still got variant covers available from one of our talents, Matthias Bilaba. He does the cover B variant. We got Kelsey, who took care of the cover C. A lot of people know her from Good Deeds, Doctor Who, several projects from over at Boom.
Cool.
And then we also unlocked 2 new stretch goals. So we got a digital bonus reward that's going to be a short comic from good friend and collaborator Christoph RDGZ. And then we also just unlocked yesterday, actually I think this morning, the guitar picks. So every physical backer now gets Slight Return branded guitar picks featuring our illustration artwork from Alex Ekman Law. And some folks might be familiar with him. He just put out the cover for Dark Horse's cyberpunk graphic novel. He's worked a lot with Smashing Pumpkins, other bands around, so it only felt with this very rock and roll and punk rock themed book that we get him to do some artwork for us too.
That's cool. And you said this is a one shot, right?
Yep, this is a one shot, so it's one and done. We're also tagging on if you want to try out some of our other Odyssey comic books. We got our Dark Odyssey Festival, which combines 4 titles of our horror thriller books across Paradox and Odyssey together in one bundle. You either get it digitally or you get it physically too. You get a little sampler of everything.
All right, that's cool.
This legit looks like it belongs like on the shelf of a comic shop. This looks legit.
That's the plan.
Also,
And I can't forget our giveaway either. That's we got a Stag Les Paul style guitar that we're giving away. It is real. It is sitting here with me right now. I got the distortion pedal right here too. So at the end of the campaign, one lucky physical backer, everybody's going to go into a raffle for that, and they're going to win the guitar inspired by the guitar and the story itself.
Cool.
I love the punk vibe this thing's got, man.
Thanks.
I think the world needs more punk right now, so this
Yes,
is a really good
needs
time.
a hell of a lot more punk.
Does it ever?
A lot more. So yeah, we got just over 3 days before we close this one out, and then, man, we're about 50% through the story right now, pages and everything. So probably be wrapping up the whole book by August, and then fulfillment starts after that. We also got a hardcover of this one available too. We've been going hard with the hardcovers lately, and people seem to really like them. A lot of backers jump on to get those hardcovers.
Cool. Now, Marcus, let me ask you a question. What does your storage facility look like?
Mine's keep it real lean. It's mainly filled with car parts right now.
Plus, it's your garage. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but I try to keep it as lean as possible and be like really plan out how we do things. Of course, step 1 is always taking care of the campaigns. Step 2 is having additional copies for everybody else. Step 3 is when I'm doing conventions and things like that. And actually, we move a lot through our website. We do a lot in digital sales. Not digital items, but like people buying on our website online and us selling it to them. And thankfully, I have some pretty quick print on demand services too. So whenever I need something and I'm getting a little bit low on something, I can just blip an order. I typically get it within a week to 2 weeks time if the book is already in print. Especially with our hardcovers, that's done directly through our distribution. I could get books in 5 business days after I order, sometimes less than that, for not a premium cost on top of that either. So yeah, it helps us really stay lean because I don't have a whole lot of space. And even though the storage is close by, I don't want to invest in like a lot of storage to keep the comic books and everything there. I like being able to go grab them out of the shelf, put them in shipping, and then get them out to everybody.
Gotcha. All right, cool. I'm gonna pop this up real quick. This is my upcoming campaign, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. This is Dreamweavers #1. This is a second chance campaign. So I have a couple more covers. The original artist came back, Matt Lunsford. He did another cover for us We had another artist. We had a couple of other artists do new covers. This is some of the interior pages. It's about 4 kids. Whenever they go to sleep, they come back as their role-playing game characters. And these are their characters. And when they do that, they end up fighting demons. So that's what they do in their nights. So it's in pre-launch, so you can sign up, and that'll probably go live sometime in a couple weeks.
Well, that looks like that kind of Ninja Combat you're talking about earlier on the front of that cover right there with the big long and dexterous blue tongue there and the girl in the skimpy skirt.
Well, you know what it is when I was because here's the other thing about it. That book I produced originally in '92, so that was my first one of my first printed books when I first started. I think I did that book when I was 19 or 20. And I've just remastered it. So relettered the whole thing, fixed up some of the stuff that was in it, and got it colored up. And and we had some strange influences when we were children. So what do you want? It was just nuts in the 80s, all right? It was just
I would argue with you, but like you just saw my Kickstarter page, like you know. The evidence is there, Your Honor. I'm guilty.
All right.
And
So
I'll do it again.
Hey, listen, I don't blame you. I'd do it again too. So Justin or Vaughn, either one of you got a question you guys want to ask us before?
I'm gonna tell. I didn't want to hold up the show.
No, we're done with everybody's campaign. So now we're back to asking questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just wondering, how do you guys recommend? I'm probably gonna go with a different printer. I literally, so right after you mentioned that, I was like looking at other numbers, like, oh my god, that's a 2000. Is that right? So I might go with the printer for issue 2. And stick with my issue 1 printer for reprints because it's a chonky boy. But I guess my question would be, how do you guys go about consistently funding and keeping the train moving, like getting audience? Because this takes a lot of time. You know, getting on and I don't get me wrong, I like it, like I'm happy I'm here and all that, but it takes a lot of look at hours in the day to write, to manage talent, to keep and maintain an audience, a lot of time and money. How do you go about getting it where I can get an audience that's there that can keep? Obviously you're gonna have to do a bit of marketing, but how do you go about getting that core audience and getting people that are there?
All right, let's leave this. We will start with the master of himself at this first. Marcus, what is your advice?
Don't call me a master, because God, I got a couple fulfillments that are getting stretched. But that's part of what leads into it, is like you have to, number one, be a little bit of a sociopath.
Okay, checked off already.
That's the realest thing I've heard all day, bro.
Yes.
All right, we're halfway there.
Unfortunately, you can't have that level of success without having it. Because when it comes down to it, how my workflow works is that I go into this frenetic pace that might last like maybe 3 or 4 months straight, and I'll burn myself out like completely and like need a month where I just need to shut down, and then I'll do it again and again and again. That's the only way I can work. It's just feverishly doing as much as I can and getting things as far over the hump as I can before doing it. So that helps a lot of things like be in process. Even though we got a lot of stuff that we're producing, I'm able to, just by way of how I am naturally, just be able to get a lot of stuff going. Second is money. Money and a pretty important thing, because that's what it takes to get everything really going. And you sort of need to do that to build up your success. So you need to be good with planning it out, understanding how much you have to budget for, what you're going to need to be allocating those things to, and where down the pipeline that can be going. And that's very important, because if something gets mixed up, it can throw everything out of whack. And really the third thing is, of course, going to be consistent results. That's both in your fulfillment and your quality of work. If your quality of work is there, even if your fulfillment, like mine, gets a little bit janky sometimes, because at the end of the day, I'm one dude. And I think last year we were expanding a lot. And then when, I was having health issues and, the day job's getting crazy, everything like that, stuff falls off the wayside. And unfortunately, since I'm the fulcrum for everything, if I'm not 100%, then nothing else can be 100% either. So understanding your capacity as a creator for being able to do things out, understand that you're human you're gonna need time and everything like that. Thankfully, Kickstarter folks, they're really cool as long as you're updating them and knowing they know that they got their books coming, you're working on it, you're making progress, and you're not just gonna drop off the face of the earth and run away with their money. Then they understand you're one individual, one creator that needs to get this stuff out. And if you get sick, nothing gets done. That's the nature of the business that we're in. When we're small to mid-sized people, we got to do a lot of stuff ourselves. And if you have that there, generally the people will come. Now it's tough. The easy part is getting the audience. The tough part is growing. You could have the same 50 to 100 backers that are going to be there every time to jump aboard your stuff. It's getting harder and harder to find new people. We know Facebook and Twitter and everybody else doesn't like you dropping links, doesn't like you sharing your work a whole lot.
Unless you pay.
So unless you pay for their ads.
Right.
Don't pay Elon anything. Twitter ads are useless.
Nope.
And
Yeah, I actually make the most of it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like for me, it's been Blue Sky, and thankfully I'm pretty decent with Facebook advertising, so I get a pretty good return on investment from what we do there. But other than that, man, it's really tough. I think the main thing is consistent results, consistent quality. Also, if you can increase quality and do things that are, backers can see like where you're leveling up and your writing is getting better, the artwork's getting better. Like they really like seeing that too. They like seeing the creators chart that path of upward mobility, because they like feeling part of that community. They like feeling part of that process of you getting to that point. And sometimes that's directly related to the support that they give you is your ability to do that. You have a little bit more coming in, maybe you start, snagging a little bit, more higher level artists, more talented artists. I think for us too, and on the Odyssey side, it's been more or less how we develop projects and do things in house. That's why we work from everyone from new people who are just getting into comics, just starting their careers, to people who have been veterans and doing some really like amazing books at some of the big publishers and things like that, because the word gets out how we make comics like a more fun process too. So that's the other thing. You can't get there if you're treating your talent like shit and you're really making a difficult situation to collaborate with people and do things like that. You gotta keep everything really healthy and really dynamic amongst the creative team itself too. So just be good at everything and you won't have to have anything to worry about.
Okay. Good luck with that. But Jay, what are your thoughts?
Look, if I know. It's funny you asking this question because this year, the last half of the year, the train really fell off the rails for me this year. And I call myself Unstoppable Comics not because I'm this great big engine of destruction, but because we don't stop. We hit our speed bumps and we get smacked in the face, and we fall down. We fall down hard, but we keep getting back up. Yes, there are going to be your core advocates. They're always going to come back, right? And you want to make sure you keep them happy, because in business, no matter what business it is harder to retain a customer than it is to find a new one, right? So you're going to want to keep those guys satisfied. That's one of those things that I'm always doing with every campaign is I'm offering a special reward for those who keep coming back. It doesn't matter what campaign they backed from me before. So long as they're coming back for this one, they will be eligible to get whatever new reward it is. And that breeds loyalty, right? Exclusivity. The trick is, can you manage it? Is it something that you can add on that's not going to blow your budget out of the water? So that's how I've been able to do that. Going forward, I don't know, dude. I got the same concepts that I've been applying in the past, and I'm always open to trying new things. But yes, Marcus was right. Consistency is key. Consistency. And when you break consistency, you definitely see a dip, right? There's no doubt about that. But can you come back from that? That's the key. Again, that's why I call it Unstoppable Comics. It's, can I come back from that?
What's the line from Rocky? It's not about how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can
Yeah, I was
take.
thinking that one.
Yeah.
Get back up.
Yeah, and I take it in the chops.
You guys have
all
probably
the time.
played D&D before, right? What's the best class to be in real life? It's not
Depends on the
it's not
person.
wizard.
I would
Nope.
say a fighter.
Fighter.
Nope. The best class you can be in real life is a tank.
There you
Because life
go.
is going to punch you over and over. You better get up.
Good.
It don't matter. I don't care how your intelligence is, how good looking you are, how good looking you're not. Don't matter. Life's going to keep beating the crap out of you, and you better get
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Perseverance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just tank it.
Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, I mean, I think, Jay hit on it, Marcus hit on a lot of it. Consistency is important, keeping your customer base active and involved. But yeah, I mean, look, fulfillment, the faster you fulfill, the better. I find that people really, really like when you fulfill quickly, because there's so many people who don't, right? Because, we've all know, what happens. But, sometimes you have issues, but it's like Marcus said, if you do have an issue, make sure you reach out, make sure you keep in touch with them, you let them know what's going on. But yeah, man, I mean, it's one of those tough parts. Like, I found that the toughest part of this game is finding the new readers, right?
Mhm.
Especially for something like Oswald, where it's like, it's a little bit on the younger side. It's not something that that's very friendly on Kickstarter, but there are people that want it. I have a small group of very dedicated fans, right? I think the group you're in is the next level up, which is superheroes. And it's definitely a dedicated group, but you just got to get in there and just start working.
There's also a million other people that are doing.
Right.
Now, that's why I lean into the post-World War III coming of age, which is, I guess, what it is. So I guess it's different.
Yeah, but you just got to keep pushing it, man. I mean, you've been out there, you're hustling. You're
Yeah.
Now, I would always say, like, really understanding and having like a good insight into like where you're at will help you too. I always tell people, like, is this your first comic that you had on Kickstarter?
Second.
Second. It's the first series, the first in the series. Though.
Yeah. No, second in the series. This is issue 2.
Second. Okay. But have the understanding that this is the worst thing that you've ever put out. Now, I'm not saying that as in your product is bad. I'm saying as in if this is your floor, like understand where your ceiling can be.
Well, it's not the floor, but I get what you're saying, that the next one's going to be better. Absolutely.
Exactly. So if you're already starting off with something that's good and quality, and that looks to absolutely to be the case, then that's already going to bode well for you. So you're able to say that, hey, with support, as you grow, as you do more things, like this is where we're starting from already, from point A, where I could be at point B or point C. Point D can be astronomically more. And I think that's sometimes it's like the thing that we have mentally is like when we start doing stuff. Of course, we want everyone to see what we do and love what we do and respect it and reward us for it. But that isn't always the reality. Sometimes it takes your 4th title that you're working on, the 5th project, 6th project, 7th project to get something that really hits like we don't know. So also the part too is like, even if you have successes, there's even growing pains that come along with successes. Bigger campaigns, they're harder to fulfill. They take more energy. They take more resources. Like, what do you got to do when you got to get 1,500 bags and boards all of a sudden? How long is that taking you at home? Like, how much printing costs is that going to be? How many Gemini mills? Like,
that's why I'm like already like probably going to switch printers for this issue too. Maybe possibly. I really like my printer, but I also really like having money. To spend on my books, to be clear.
Yeah. So, but my whole point in all that was just saying that, like, understand that, like, you as a person, you got to be able to take the bumps and like take the successes and with equals amounts of greatness, because they both have their drawbacks and their benefits too. So sometimes the mental part and the mental aspect of it, like last year, like I got the yips for some reason. Like I don't know, like even what it was. Like I had a couple. Like 3 campaigns in a row that did really fucking good, and like my brain just like farted out because you're realizing like, oh shit, there's a spotlight on me. Like people have expectations of me, and all this other stuff that comes along with it. People see me at cons and know who I am, like strangers I never met before. You know, little stuff like that. And it's like mentally I wasn't ready for it. Like even though I wanted the success, mentally where I was at for it, like I didn't have it at that point in time. And I fucked up, quite frankly. And it's like understanding like your ability, where you need to go, ask for help when you need to ask for help. Like there's so many like things that go into it. So growing is one, and then there's all sorts of resources and things you could do to do that. But the growth that you need to do internally as a creator is far more important than what you do on the platform.
Yeah.
Because one leads into the other, unfortunately.
But don't worry about it, Marcus. It gets weirder. Wait until the day that somebody recognizes you from the podcast and yells out your name at random on the street. That's a weird one.
I'll hire guys to do that to you.
Yeah. So Isaac, what are your thoughts on the question?
It's a case-by-case basis. It falls into the same idea of like, well, how do I get more backers? Well, I can't tell you that. The reason because we live in an era now where Kickstarter is not social media. It's something else. Another kind of social platform, but it's not social media. These things move so fast that even the algorithms, people that program the algorithms don't know what they're doing anymore. So it's hard to ascertain what you should be doing. If you were to ask like me right now, how do I get known in comics? I would tell you, well, find somebody who's really big and famous and have them talk about you. How do you do that? I don't know. Good luck. That worked 5 years ago. I don't know how it's going to work now. No idea. If I had to start today, I wouldn't know what to tell you. What matters, I think, as far as what I can say, is kind of keeping the train rolling, is everybody has their own audience, right? You have to understand your audience, figure out who your audience is, and you have to learn how to resonate with them. You create, for lack of a better word, create harmony together. You have to learn how to do that back and forth with that audience you have. I'll use myself as an example, so I'm not putting anybody else down. I have done covers from guys who are very famous who do Western comic art, and they don't move at all from my studio. I pick up random guys who nobody's ever heard of that just draw anime stuff, and they sell like hotcakes. Why? Because my audience says they don't read comics. They read manga. They want anime-looking stuff. The same guys that will do a Western comic art, they'll do a Kickstarter and make 6 to 10 times what I make. They'll walk away with 6 figures. Yeah, because his audience wants that, and he's learned how to resonate with that audience. I'll use Zombie Tramp and Dan Mendoza, I think, is a fantastic example. Dan is a guy who is all about 2 things: violence and big boobs. That is what he is about. You look at his comics, it's that. Look at his marketing, it's that. Look at his life, it's that. That's how he presents himself. So people who are into those things can resonate with this gentleman and how he does things. He's created that. We talked about Polito before. He's he's super diehard metal guy. He resonates with the metal fans. If you can figure out who you have resonance with, that's step one, figure out how to keep the train rolling. Because then from there, the conversation creates itself. But you have to figure out, who does your book resonate with, and how do you work with them to make sure they're happy? I can't tell you how to do that. Nobody can, because it took me 5 years to figure it out. 5-7 years to figure that out.
I could, but it's something that takes time. Thankfully, Kickstarter has analytical tools now, and some of them are in beta.
They have it 10 years ago.
Yeah, they had it. As you start to see the campaigns more, and you put more campaigns out, you can start seeing. I think it helps with us, honestly, because we have something different every time that I make a campaign. And sometimes people come back, sometimes they don't. But sometimes I do see where the projects start to overlap, and I see, hey, this book that we did had the greatest percentage of returning backers from this book. So I know that those 2 audiences overlap, and I start knowing what audiences are consistently there versus, another book I may be doing, things like that. And as you also start to do more of these, I think I got like 18 under my belt or something like that. You also start to understand the little idiosyncrasies of Kickstarter a little bit more. Like, when it comes to pre-launch, like a lot of people focus on pre-launch because that's a good determinator of what your campaign is going to do. I've found that basically my final backer amount and my pre-launch backer amount, at the very least, my final backer amount is going to equal my pre-launch backer amount. Now, that's not saying every single pre-launch follower is backing it. That just means, on average, the number of pre-launch followers I get overall, the campaign gets that much.
What does internal mean? I'm looking at my analytics because you were telling me.
Internal means if someone's backed your campaign from before, you can see who backed the first book that you did, And what percentage of those are coming back and they're backing the second one? So
What, directly from it, or because I don't know what
Yeah.
percentage of my backers have backed my first book in general.
yeah,
Like,
as you crack out those things, and also if you like connect BackerKit and sign up for their marketing services, it'll start giving you those analytics and everything too. So yeah, if you go in, it'll tell you got to scroll through all the data and find the line for it. It'll tell you, hey, 25% of your backers from this project came back and they're backing this one, whatever the case may be.
I'm going to agree with Marcus on this entirely because statistically speaking, if you even get funded for your first time showing up, that's already an accomplishment by itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because taking a risk on somebody you don't know, as somebody who does back campaigns, if you don't have a history, like I don't know if I can trust you yet. Like, how do I know you're going to do this? You might be a scam. I have no idea. That, and one thing that kind of helps, I think, is back other creators. Like go on there and back other projects. Because every now and then I go to Kickstarter looking for somebody to see what everybody's up to. But if I see a book, like, oh, your book looks good, and you've never backed another creator or anything on Kickstarter, I'm done. I'm off your page. We're done.
Yeah, and mind you, you can back other campaigns at $1, and sometimes, and it's not much that you're giving, but sometimes that'll bump that algorithm that it'll start moving it so that people start seeing more of their campaign. So sometimes, even just $1 will help out. DM, what are your thoughts on the question?
So, in regards to getting an audience, I don't know how many people here are parents. I'm a parent of 3, and there's no instruction manual for it. Every kid is different. And that first time I was handed my firstborn to me, okay, apparently I'm a parent, and apparently I'm able to take care of this thing. Finding an audience, it's different every time. Like you mentioned Pleato with metal or various other different veins, be it manga or otherwise. It's going to be different every time. For me personally, like mine's medieval fantasy. So not only am I on comic podcasts, I'm on fantasy podcasts. So there's a bit of an overlap there, which is very fortunate. My book is also based off of the very first homebrew D&D campaign I ever ran over a decade ago. So I'm on RPG podcasts as well. So there's some overlap to draw in a fan base. I don't think there's any concrete finite formula that would necessarily be tailored for every single individual. They're all going to be different. Sure, there's some good tips and tricks, but at the end of the day, I think it's a matter of just jumping into the fray and figuring out what works for you. That's what I really think.
I agree with you entirely. It's the same thing that works for.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is
Jay.
going to be a tremendous amount of trial and error.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh no,
it's uncomfortable is the word. How do I figure this out? And we made the joke about millennials, but any individual younger than millennial, like I teach at a college, I give this spiel all the time to
everybody in the industry's been a teacher. Everybody.
I'm currently, but I always say this to the younger generations. It's very easy to say, I have this homework due tomorrow. Let me go level up on my favorite online game right now. You've got that quick dopamine and the stressful thing does not go away. And I'll bring this full circle. What I end up saying to them at the very end, my punchline is you have to embrace being uncomfortable, such as the homework example. You do it now, the dopamine you'll get after is way better. And this is something that should transfer to other things in life. So in this case, jump in the fray, be uncomfortable, and try to figure out what your audience is and see what makes them like you.
All right, cool. Justin.
Ray, you said it before, man. What's uncomfortable? Lifting weights. It sucks. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's right.
You're better at the end for it. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Justin, what are your thoughts? You're on mute.
His thoughts are. His mic's muted. That's his thought.
You're muted. You're muted.
Justin, unmute your mic.
You're muted. Mike.
There we go.
I said something really funny too. Damn it. No,
we believe you.
I barely survived a $2,000 Zoop campaign, so I'm just going to shut up. I don't have anything useful to say.
I think quite the opposite. You're saying this is just evidence that we all have to figure it out. It's just a weird thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is another. I started mountain biking like when I was really fat, and like I didn't know anybody that did it, so I just bought a fucking mountain bike and I went out and I screamed and I crashed and my calves were just scabs for a couple of years, and then I got really mediocre at it, and that's an accomplishment.
What is that thing from Adventure Time? Jake the dog said it. Sucking at something is the first at being sort of good at something.
Yeah, you just sometimes you just gotta. I mean, I don't even believe in talent. I just believe in obsession. So you just got to keep going, and then eventually, you do the best you can. And that's all you can do. So.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
I will say like one piece of advice too is like, you know, creating can be a lonely road sometimes. We all go through that, even if I got like 55 creators that we work with in Odyssey, like combined, probably more than that now. And still creating is lonely sometimes, and doing everything can be very isolated. I think what a lot of people have done to grow their audience and to do more is working laterally amongst each other. It'd be the case of, I think in the past, a lot of us would try to latch on to larger creators or people that are in the industry, get more of that. I think these days it's becoming more of like, you know, say me and JD worked on something together and like, hey, we're putting this out, we're combining our, you know, things together to try to broaden both of our fan bases by doing a collaboration that could speak to both of them. If you have your own thing, you're doing it, like that's awesome. Make it your thing, own it, but also look for opportunities where you start collaborating with other people and working with other publishers or other people on Kickstarter and on the platform, doing stuff with them too. That broadening of the net will help. It's the one thing that I've seen that is like not super guaranteed to be this huge exponential like boom for you, but it's going to start slowly moving. An extra, you know, 30 new backers here, 15 new backers, 20 new backers here. That starts adding up after a while.
All right. So Vaughn, answer your own question.
Well, the answer seems to be we are ever in search of the answer, which isn't that the age-old thing, right? For me, I mean, I guess I'm still learning my audience. You know, I've had like, I think I say 50% drop off, but I also haven't closed yet. So that means it probably won't be. You know? So, yeah, I mean, God, I guess it's just finding people that appreciate you, because people have all sorts of different motives for backing campaigns and you just don't know. What I do know is that the people who give me feedback generally really like the book and end up wanting the second one. You know, like I just sent a link to someone. I'm like, oh yeah, he might not know that the campaign is on whatever platform. You know, I think part of the problem is I was like, oh, the algorithm will promote me on Kickstarter. And it's like, again, no. And most of the people that I've already pushed to like fund my comic. And it's like, now I know, lesson learned, to have a Kickstarter cover. You know, and so that's an important lesson, right? Incentivize every action. I was like, oh, the Kickstarter crowd, they'll love it. Well, they have to spend, I'm asking them to spend money before they know if they'll love it. That's the tough part, you know? And I guess ultimately you got to keep promoting like crazy and putting out quality work, and getting it in people's hands is the toughest part. Getting it before people's eyes is the toughest part. Because I was like, oh, I post on every Facebook group. Okay, but the algorithm, I don't know if the algorithm.
The algorithm
problem is,
you probably hate that, if anything.
And problem
dear
is,
God,
that
it's
Facebook
like,
group is just us.
Yeah,
Doing
exactly.
the same thing. If you're looking to buy a comic, do you really just drop into a
Never
independent creative comic group on Facebook? No, you don't do that.
Right.
No,
It's all
and
guys
it
like
gets
us.
even
I do it a
tougher when you
lot.
do other things.
All right, well, so now I'm looking for that one guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's,
It's hard.
there's a reason companies like Coke, Pepsi, you know, household names spend billions a year
Billions
trying to
on
find the answer to this
advertising.
question every day.
Yep.
They have people that sit there, they've hired professional psychologists to break down your psychology and how you think. Look at how many theme parks have you walked through the gift shop at the end of the theme park? That's like, they know you're going to, if they don't do that, you're not going to go in there. You're not going to walk in the gift shop. But now you're going to be like, oh, your kid's going to see that stuffed animal your kid really wants. Now you got to buy it.
A token of a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
All right.
I gotta run, guys.
Well, gentlemen, we made it to hour 2, so we're closing
See
up.
you, Justin.
No, so hold on, Justin. Before you go, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work, sir.
Coke Comics, COKE Comics.com. There's an email list for stuff. There's a bunch of scripts. No one likes to read scripts, but maybe somebody will someday. And then, of course, it's on SWAT's on Global Comics, and that's where I'd go. And check it out. I mean, like I said, it's free. I think one of you read it while we were here. Somebody did, but it's that level of granularity at this point. But anyway, check it out. It's I think it's good. Best thing I've ever written, I can tell you that. So, yeah, it was fun talking to all you guys. You had a lot of cool stuff to say.
Good to see you, Justin.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Vaughn, where can we find you and your work, sir?
So you can go to my website, rebeloasisstudios.com. If you want to guarantee that you get a first printing of issue 1, the best way to get that, and also I'll be shipping out pretty much right away, would be on my website. You can also find me on globalcomics.com, Rebel Oasis Studios. You can read Phenomenova on there. You could obviously my campaign Kickstarter, make sure to go there. Join my email list at rebeloasisstudios.com. I got a YouTube channel. It's just my name, Vaughn Coleman. I do comic stuff. I do whatever nerdy stuff I feel like talking about. I yap about it. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, like, just don't watch it. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, cool. Isaac, where can they find you and your work, sir?
We have our website, foxycomics.com, with 2 X's, not 3, because it's not that kind of website until JD decides to share his secrets of ninjas with me. You can also find us on Kickstarter, Actual Ticket. Look us up on Actual Ticket Comics. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter technically, but we don't really use it anymore. To go back to that algorithm, I can tell you guys, you talk about social media. I can literally tag my artists on Twitter, and it won't find them unless they've paid Twitter money. I have to Google them to find them.
Really?
Twitter won't find them. I can type it in Twitter, their exact handle, it will not pull them up. I have to Google it to get to it through Twitter because they're not giving them money, so their algorithm is just completely trash. We're on Instagram, same name. We also have a Discord server where if you guys saw the Mistress Azumi book, you can actually talk to Azumi. She is the admin of that server, and she will answer your questions. She will talk to you. We do movie nights, we do video games, all kinds of stuff. So come hang out with us.
Very nice. DM, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me, as already mentioned, what I like to call Twixter. And they're both tags are Raymond the DM. DM just means Dungeon Master. DM Ray was taken, so Raymond the DM. You can find me on Facebook as DM Ray. You can also find the Madcaps Facebook page. And the most important thing is the pre-launch for issue 2, where you can also get a copy of issue 1. And it is going to be a real fun time. Good art, as already mentioned by Marcus. Issue 1 is great. Issue 2 is even better. So you just keep on getting better and better. The second issue, Victor Medina is doing the interiors. He had a minor setback with the LA Fires, but he's full bore, and I'm very, very excited to get this thing out. So make sure to check out the Madcaps, and I look forward to getting my product in your hands.
Very cool. Marcus?
You can check us out at odysseycomics.com. I think this week we should have Iberian 1 or 2 on the Paradox side, finally available to jump on for that. Then, of course, check us out, Kickstarter. We got Slight Return funded right now. We'll have Nobody's Princess 4 coming out next. Working on the colors for that one. And then, yeah, you can still find us on Elmo's website, comics_Odyssey, or on Blue Sky. If you're a normal person, you can come check us out there. We've been doing a lot more posting on Blue Sky. So we're starting to migrate our social media presence over there.
Cool. Mr. Rosario, where can I find you?
GlobalComics.com. That's where you find me. February 28th, we will be launching Storm Chasers Volume 2 on Kickstarter. I will be at the Industry City Comic Convention April 25th and 26th in Brooklyn. I'll be at Joe Fest June 20th to the 22nd. And I'll be at New York Comic Con again, and Fridays, Comic Book Streamland.
All right, very nice. So I'm JD Calderon. You can find me here most Sunday nights. Every other Tuesday with Rob Motari here, and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places I think I have a Blue Sky account. I don't think I've ever posted those. I might have to start that up. Under JD Calderon, and pretty soon, again, it's coming on Kickstarter. It'll be there. So
JD, I've got a good idea for you for Blue Sky. Your opening reel. We should take historic clips throughout all of your different shows of you just shit talking Jay.
That would run probably about 24 hours.
I'm subscribing to that.
Gotta
I'm
that
following that
because
channel immediately.
I need to have the rebuttal to that on mine. So that
Yeah.
Yeah, but that reel might run a long time.
You could have different parts, part 1, part 2, and
Part 2, but like, all right, 58th part. I was like, yeesh. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
5-hour supercut.
The ultimate in bromance technology.
there you go. But just remember, everybody, go check out the show notes. Everybody's links are in there. Click on those links. Buy those books. All these creators are doing fantastic books, making great books. Please support them, all right? Because they all deserve your support. They're all great books. So please, just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. And have a good night. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody.
Hey guys.